We're going to go ahead and replace our brake caliper and bracket. This particular one is located on the right front passenger side of the vehicle. The process is going to be the same for the driver's side. Using our 22mm socket, let's loosen and remove our lug nuts. Go ahead and remove your wheel, set that aside. Now on our caliper and bracket, we want to go ahead and separate these two. We're going to use a 17mm socket, remove the two slide pin bolts. Now we have both of our bolts separated here. Let's go ahead and split our caliper and our bracket. We'll go ahead and pop off our pad sliders here. We also want to go ahead and remove our slide pins. We're just going to pop these out. We want to go ahead and inspect the amount of grease that's on here. Now ours has a little bit on here, but we're just going to put another thin coat on here. So this greased up, you want to go ahead and push this in and then attach the boot to it. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process for the second pin here. And then pop that back in. Let's go ahead and add some grease to where our sliders are going to go. Just a thin coat. Install your slider. I'm going to repeat the process for the other side. We're going to use a 14mm socket. We're going to remove our banjo bolt. And you want to have your catch can underneath, ready to go. Going to have brake fluid coming out here. When we remove this here, you want to watch for the copper washer that is here. There's going to be two of them. One is probably going to be on the back side of the hose itself or on the caliper. And you want to definitely identify that. Looks like our washer is on the back here. So the next thing we want to do, take our bolt, install the new copper washer, feed that through our hose, put the copper washer on, and take your caliper, and we're going to install the hose. Get that bolt installed, and then we'll go ahead and snug that down. Once we get that started, let's go ahead and snug this in. Go ahead and wipe down the residual brake fluid. We're going to take our caliper. We're going to use our hanger. We're going to hang the caliper from our spring on the strut itself. Good, and use a 17mm socket. We're going to remove our two slider pin bolts. There's one on the top here, one on the bottom. And be careful when that bolt comes out that caliper is now free. You also have an exposed port on the back with brake fluid in it. So when you pull this off, go ahead and lower this down into your drain bucket. I want to go ahead and remove your little spring clips here. There's one on the bottom, one on the top. Go ahead and remove your brake pads. Slide those out of your sliders there. We want to go ahead and remove the two 19mm bolts holding our brake caliper bracket to the knuckle. Now, as you remove this bottom one here and the bracket comes off, you want to be careful. The brake rotor itself will be floating at that point. You want to make sure that that does not fall off and hit you. Go ahead and remove that bolt and your caliper bracket. Just go ahead and line up your bracket. Let's go ahead and get that upper bolt started here. Once you have that caught a couple threads, let's go ahead and install the lower bolt. Now that we have those both caught, let's go ahead and tighten these down. Let's go ahead and torque the caliper bracket bolts to 100 foot-pounds. Install your inboard brake pad. Install the outboard pad. Going to install our anti-rattle springs here, spring clips. And when you do this here, you're going to be holding on to these pads because it's going to want to expand them out. Make sure those are recessed in all the way. At this point here, we can bring our brake caliper down and slide our caliper into place. I'm going to go ahead and remove our hook here that was supporting that caliper. Now that we have this in place, we can go ahead and get our caliper bolts installed. Let's go ahead and get our upper caliper bolt started here. Once that's started, we'll go ahead and get our lower bolt installed. And if your slide pin bolt or slide pin is spinning, you can grab that with a wrench. This here is a 21 millimeter. I'm gonna hold that slide pin and tighten up that bolt. Let's get torque this down to 53 foot-pounds. At this point here, I want to go ahead and remove the rubber cap off of our bleeder screw. These are 10 millimeter, and we're going to open up our bleeder. I'm going to keep that open. Purpose of this here is to let that brake fluid come down through, fill up the piston itself, and then come out through the bleeder. That's going to expel most of the air that's in here. Now that we have brake fluid coming out of our bleeder, we simply want to tighten this down. I'm going to wipe down the residual brake fluid that came out. Make sure this is snug. Once you're done here, you don't want to go ahead up underneath the hood, check your master cylinder, check for the brake fluid, top it off as necessary, pump up your brakes, make sure everything is good. If you have a soft brake pedal or the brake pedal doesn't feel right, you want to go ahead now and begin your brake bleeding process. Go ahead and install the rubber boot on your brake bleeder screw. Go ahead and install your wheel. Go ahead and install your lug nuts. Once we get these installed, we're going to snug them up and then we'll go ahead and torque them down. Let's go ahead and torque our lug nuts down to 95 foot-pounds.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.